Such a beautiful day on the satellite in London. And Garrick, you're the co-founder together with Paul for Ludic and also the co-author of this great book. And I am so thankful that you were open to host our satellite here in London. And of course, I'm really curious, as Paul was part of our lounge in Düsseldorf this June, what he brought back to you and shared what his experience was about the Future of Leadership Salon.
Well, it's a beautiful day in London, as I say, and I was really pleased to meet you, Eve. Thank you for coming. I heard so much about the launch of the Leadership Salon from Paul. In particular, his key take-home messages, I think, had to do with leaders understanding the idea of love and the larger system, and being sensitive to the bigger system, and knowing that we as leaders have a responsibility at all levels, no matter where we may be doing things, to bear that in mind. That was mostly what we talked about after we came back.
Wonderful. Yeah, our biggest intention was really to have crucial conversations and tap into a collective and co-create the future together, because I think we all agree we need a lot of changes, positive changes for the greater good. So my question would be, you are also a leader. What is your vision, how you see your impact out in the world with the great work you do with the Ludic Group?
I think there are two things that come to mind. One is about holding the space for what we feel the future could be, and the other is to behave in a way which allows people around you to shine, which I think is a form of professionalism. There's something about how we are together and that allows us to enable each other to do great work. The collaborative process, the creative process is never easy, and sometimes we rub up against each other. That's not a bad thing. The important thing is that we respect each other and get to what we're trying to achieve together. Back to my first point, I think about holding the space. I always think of Karl Popper, the philosopher, who wrote and said, if we want to have a tolerant society, we need to be intolerant of intolerance. And I think there's something profound about holding that space. I get very concerned about some of the openness that happens in the digital realm these days, because too much openness and too much acceptance of everything means we may head down a route that we don't necessarily want to go. And I think we need to be clear about what we stand for, all of us. As a leader, the third thing I think would have to be about being true to yourself.
So I really love that quote, intolerance. Really, we need to create a tolerant society. And you also spoke about knowing yourself very well. And I always like to look at the shadows too, because if we are clear about the shadows, if you get really personal and true, what is this thing you like to work on yourself to be this full leader you can have this fabulous impact with?
Yeah, we all have such broad and deep lives, both internally and externally. And some of that we guard, and some of that we need to be vulnerable about. I don't think that vulnerability is the crux of leadership, but I do think that being human is the crux of leadership, and understanding that we have faults and we have great abilities at the same time. If you know your faults, you can work with the people around you to deal with those and to be stronger as a result. And if you know your abilities, you can work with the people around you to shine where you need to.
That's great. I mean, really, we need humanity in a digital world. And I just can say thank you so much for this very short interview, and we look forward to come together again. I know in the future we will see us again in London or in other places. So stay tuned, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me or Garrick in the purpose of transformation.